one. That's it. We're at number one.
John Madden's grin is from ear to ear. He looks like a slit watermelon.
Together with their loyal fans, the Oakland Raiders, a crowning glory.
Stadium, University of Texas in Austin, the setting for the 59th NCAA Track and Field Championships. You're about to see the 100-meter dash. World and American record 9.95. Jim Hines, 1968. NCAA meet record 10.07. Clancy Edwards, USC, 1978. Hot. Now let's set the lanes amidst all the heat and humidity. And looking down into lane number 1, it is Darren Nelson of Stanford University, a junior, one of the great football players in the country. Fine running back, tore up his leg long jumping and missed all of last football season and most of the track season. Lane number 2, the defending champion from University of Texas, El Paso, Jerome Deal. In lane number 3, from UCLA, a sophomore, Eric Brown, second in the Pac-10. Mike Robertson, Florida State, a senior, the Metro Conference champion, 100 and 200. James Sanford, University of Southern California, junior, 10.02, collegiate record holder, number 1 in the world. Calvin Smith, Alabama, a freshman, 4th in the Southeastern Conference championship. And in lane number 7, it is Stanley Floyd of Auburn University, an 18-year-old freshman, 1st in the Southeastern Conference this year. Jeff Phillips of Tennessee, 6th in the indoor competition this year in lane 8. And in lane number 9, it's Mel Latney of the University of Georgia, a junior who false started out of the SEC competition. But James Sanford is the man, the considered favorite, holds the collegiate record at 10.02, only one loss this season. Carl Lewis, Houston freshman, beat him. But Sanford is considered the dominant personality in the sprints right now. Obviously a key man for USC if the Trojans are to contend with UCLA and with UTEP for the national team title. And now our sprinters settle into their blocks, ready for the call. Sanford right in the middle of the track. We've got a fair start. It is Sanford out pretty well. Robertson's out well. Smith is out well, and so is Stanley Floyd. It is Floyd pulling at the tape, and it is Floyd, and an upset. Stanley Floyd, the 18-year-old youngster from Putney, Georgia, a freshman at Auburn, has pulled off one of the major upsets of the international track season as he runs down James Sanford and wins the 100 meters at 10.10. What a startling turnaround of form here in Austin, Texas in the NCAA championships. A look at it in slow motion, and we'll have to freeze the slow motion at the end of it to pick up which man finished in second place. But right about here, Stanley Floyd, running in lane number 7 to the right-hand side of the picture there, was starting to establish the lead, and he just pulled it out, and he was a clear winner of the 100 meters. Michael Robertson of Florida State was right there with James Sanford, and the call goes to Robertson for second place. Sanford is third. Their times are 10.12. So how do you do? An upset right at the beginning as Floyd of Auburn wins the 100-meter dash. Well, that's a sample of what you'll be seeing from Austin, Texas. And from Muncie, Indiana, you'll see old crosstown rivals UCLA and USC battling each other for the NCAA Volleyball Championship of 1980. It will be a rematch from last year's championship game.
Track and field. Volleyball. The NCAA champions. This ABC Sports Exclusive is brought to you by Light Beer. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less. And by Pentax, makers of the ME Super, the compact, easy-to-use, automatic 35mm camera.
The 59th NCAA Track and Field Championships are being held in Austin, Texas at Memorial Stadium on the campus of the University of Texas, and straw hats, short shorts, sunburns, and Texas summertime have been very obvious. The temperatures have remained well into the 90s with considerable humidity throughout the competition, and it's had some impact. Hello again, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. Before we came here for this Track and Field Championship, we expected it to be a 3-team fight between UCLA, USC, and the University of Texas, El Paso, and it's been exactly that, and that's the way it's apparently going to be well through this final day of the competition. Now, very quickly, let's define how the points are scored. The first 6 finishers in each event score on the basis of 10 for first, 8 for second, then it goes 6, 4, 2, and 1. And going into this final day of competition, these were the team standings. UCLA, 22 points, UTEP, 21, and USC, 18. And now quickly, let's recap how those points were scored for those teams. In the long jump, Carl Lewis of Houston, 18-year-old freshman from Willingboro, New Jersey, jumped 27 feet 4 3/4 inches, wind-aided, getting first place and the 10 points. It's worth noting that this brilliant athlete scored 30.5 points himself for the Houston team in the Southwest Conference Championships. He had his first gold medal as an NCAA champion in 1980. For the University of Southern California, 6'8" Larry Dublé, who had won the 1977 NCAA championship, took second place, good for 8 points, with this jump of 26 feet 8 inches. Those 8 points coupled with Sanford's 6 points in the 100 meters last night gave USC 14, the 2 big point scorers so far for the Trojans. Dublé out for a couple of years with a broken kneecap. UTEP got 10 points out of this big guy from Sweden, Tommy Sjöholm, 225 feet even in the hammer throw for first place. He improved on his third place finish a year ago. It was expected he would score well for UTEP in the hammer, and he got as many as you can get, 10 points for first place. In the 10,000 meters, UTEP's Suleiman Niambui led all the way to win that one and get 10 more points for the Miners. Michael Mujoki, running number 4 here, however, for the Miners, dropped out of the 10,000 shortly after the halfway point with a sore hip. UTEP had expected 8 points from him, but didn't get it. Including Jerome Beal's 6th place in the 100 meters, UTEP had 21 points at this juncture as Niambui went on to win rather easily and convincingly in the 10,000 meters. In the decathlon, UCLA's Mark Anderson was the winner with 7,893 points in the 10-event 2-day grind. He had planned to compete in the regular javelin competition, but after 2 days of the decathlon and a winning effort worth 10 points for the Bruins, he pulled out of the javelin competition. But it was an outstanding effort for UCLA's Mark Anderson. 10 points for the Bruins and victory in the decathlon. Now we come to this man, Greg Foster, who's had a rather remarkable history of ups and downs in the 110-meter high hurdles. In 1978 at Eugene, Oregon, Foster won his first NCAA title. Trying to dodge a photographer on the edge of the track, he fell and hurt his leg. And it was also in 1978 that he came up against a young man named Ronaldo Nehemiah that developed into quite a rivalry, as Nehemiah was then to go on to win 9 straight races over Foster, including last year's collegiate championship at the University of Illinois Stadium. Looking at him in isolated pictures now, you can see Greg Foster will hit hurdle number 6, splinter it, pull up, and fail to finish the race as Nehemiah goes on to win the NCAA championship in 1979. Now it is 1980. Nehemiah is no longer competing for the University of Maryland and is not here. And that leaves Greg Foster, the man to beat. Plenty of competition, however, for Greg Foster. However, the big guy in the center of the track pulled away to win rather easily. The only challenge he got last night in the 110-meter high hurdle was from Orlando McDaniel of LSU, and it wasn't all that much of a challenge as Foster went on to win at 13.42 seconds, getting 10 points for the UCLA Bruins. And there are the team standings as of the moment. We'll be back with more later, but right now we're going to volleyball. And here is Steve Zabriskie.
Welcome to University Gym on the campus of Ball State University. Before a packed house today, USC and UCLA are meeting in the NCAA Volleyball Championship match. This final is tied at 1 game apiece. It's the best 3 out of 5 games, and we're just moments before the start of game number 3. Hello, I'm Steve Zabriskie, and welcome to the 11th NCAA Volleyball Championship. As expected, we have 2 California teams in the final, and it will once again be a rivalry between the University of Southern California and the UCLA Bruins. These 2 teams have met over the years, as you know, many times on the football field. That rivalry is continuing in volleyball. In fact, UCLA has won 7 of the previous 10 NCAA volleyball championships. USC has won it once. These 2 teams know each other very well. This final will consist of the best 3 out of 5 games, each game being played to 15 points. And working as our expert commentator today is one of the great all-around athletes in the world, Diana Nyad. And Diana, these two teams really pose an interesting contrast as far as their styles of play are concerned.
Oh, it should be a very exciting contrast, Steve. Coach Kirai from UCLA, number 31, is probably the finest all-around collegiate athlete in the U.S. today. But UCLA's greatest strength relies on their teamwork. They play a very conservative, consistent type of game, each player performing all the skills as well as the next. USC, on the other hand, has a more dazzling, hot and cold style of play. If Dusty Dvorak, number 1, their setter, and the 6'5" Pat Powers, number 9, their power hitter, play hot, they're going to be unstoppable. But if they play a little bit off, they're going to make mistakes and be inconsistent.
Well, if you've never enjoyed volleyball as it is played at this level in the NCAA, you're in for a real treat today, because as you will see, this is not your basic backyard game. We're ready now to begin game number 3. Remember, we're tied at 1 game apiece. This is Cliff Capilolo of USC, who will begin game 3 by serving. 6 men on a side. And remember, you may only score points when you are serving in volleyball. And the block by John Hedlund of USC gives the Trojans the first point. They lead 1-0 here in game 3. Capilolo will serve again. And Karch Kirai of UCLA puts it away, and so on that one, the Bruins win the side out, or they win the service.
Now, each team is only allowed 3 hits during any one play. Basically, the 3 hits are the pass, here's the set, and here comes the spike, which is usually hit hard and in for the kill and the point, or the side out.
You may only hit the ball 3 times on a side, remember. Dave Saunders, number 4 of UCLA, will serve for the Bruins. And that time, Hedlund just tried to push the ball over the net very lightly. They call that a dink. It was unsuccessful, however, and the point goes to UCLA. It is tied 1-1. This court is 18 meters by 9 meters, or 59 feet by 29.5 feet. Just a little less than half the size of a basketball court. And there's the block by Tim Hovland of USC, number 10. And Hovland gives the service back to USC.
When Ehrman goes up for the spike here, the 2 defensemen reach up to block it. They're allowed to reach over the net, but they may not touch the net.
Also, as a rule of volleyball, you may only contact the ball with the lower portion of your arm from the elbow down. You must handle the ball cleanly. And so that hit by Golnak of UCLA went out of bounds. Dusty Dvorak will continue to serve for USC. It is now 2-1 in favor of the Trojans. We're in game 3, tied at 1 game apiece. And Ehrman has his kill shot blocked again by USC. John Hedlund going up once again. It is now 3-1 in favor of USC. Dusty Dvorak, of captain, will continue to serve.
When Dvorak is serving, USC is in their strongest rotation with 3 6'5" men in the front row. Each team has stronger and weaker points of rotation.
That serve was too long, and you could see UCLA rotating there as they have won the service back on the side out. Steve Golnak will serve for the Bruins. And John Hedlund puts it away very quickly for USC, so they win the service back. Tim Hovland will be serving. It's still 3-1 in favor of USC. Pat Powers puts it away. Number 9, Pat Powers of USC, one of the best power hitters. On the left, Ernie Hicks, the USC coach, and on the right, Al Skates, the coach of UCLA. Skates, the dean of coaches, in his 18th season. Hovland serving once again for USC. It's 4-1 in favor of the Trojans. And there you can see that it is possible to go outside the red lines that define the court here in order to retrieve the ball. And Karch Kirai just touches it over the net with a dink shot. This is successful and gives the service back to UCLA on the side out.
The dink can be a very effective change-up. The defensive players are usually waiting for a hard kill, and when the dink comes across with soft finesse, it often works.
Peter Ehrman serving for UCLA. It's 4-1 in favor of USC. And the attempted block by Powers goes out of bounds, and so the point goes to UCLA on the kill shot by Randy Stocklos, who drilled it very hard. It is now 4-2 USC.
Well, here Dvorak saves the ball by playing a rebound off the net. You are allowed to do that.
On that play, however, referee Wink Davenport ruled that Dvorak did not handle it cleanly, and so it's a ball handling fault. Again, Ehrman will serve. Remember, you can only contact the ball from the elbows down, and you may have both hands contacting the ball at the same time. Pat Powers' attempted kill shot is wide. Another point for UCLA ties the game at 4-4. Remember, we're tied at 1 game apiece here in game number 3, the best 3 out of 5 for the National NCAA Volleyball Championship.
We might reiterate the 2 different styles of play again. USC plays the hard hitting from the outside. UCLA varies it up from the inside and outside, soft and hard.
And that time, Randy Stocklos, number 11, went down, and his foot went underneath the net across the center line, and the referee caught it, so it'll be a net fault against Stocklos. Even though his own man knocked him down and he fell across the net, it's still not allowed, and it's side out to USC. We're still tied 4-4. Pat Powers serving. And Randy Stocklos comes back and powers that one away with a kill shot. And it's side out, back to the Bruins. UCLA winning the serve back. Still tied at 4, and Mark Slevko will be the server. Steve Golnack blocking that attempted kill shot by USC gives the point to UCLA. The Bruins take the lead for the first time, 5-4. Both teams doing an excellent job of keeping the ball in play, as this is perhaps the longest rally so far. Now Golnack puts it away for UCLA. Steve Golnack with the kill shot makes it 6-4 in favor of UCLA. USC wants to take a timeout. We'll be back. It's UCLA leading 7-6. And now Steve Timmons of USC gets the point for the Trojans to tie the game at 7-7. We're in game 3, tied at 1 game apiece. This is a best 3 out of 5 series for the national championship. 15 points will win the game. And UCLA does not handle that ball cleanly, and so the point goes to USC, and they take an 8-7 lead. Hedlund still serving. Pat Powers kills one right into the chest of Karch Kirai of UCLA. And it is now 9-7 in favor of USC as Hedlund will continue to serve. "15 points will win the game. You must win by 2 or more points, however. And a fault has been called against Mark Slevko of UCLA, who blocked that attempted kill but went under the net. He actually stepped across the center line under the net, which is not allowed, and so it's another point for USC, 10-7. Mark Anderson into the game for UCLA now. He's a backcourt specialist replacing Steve Golnack. And Powers with a beautiful change of pace just dinks it over the net for another USC point as they take an 11-7 lead.
Powers completely fakes the UCLA defense on this one. Let's watch the play. Dvorak now is going to set it high to the outside, typically for Powers to come over and kill the ball. He dumps it. UCLA does not read the play. Point goes again to USC.
John Hedlund continuing to serve for the Trojans. Remember, you can only score points when you are serving. USC is making a run at UCLA right now as they've jumped out to a 4-point lead. And Karch Kirai has it just go through his hands. You won't see that happen very often as Kirai just let the ball slip through his hands. It's another USC point, making it 12-7 in favor of the Trojans. We're in game 3, tied at 1 game apiece. USC won the first game 15-7. UCLA came back to take the second game 15-6.
Watch the serve here. It reacts much like a knuckleball. It dies and doesn't have any spin on it.
And Dusty Dvorak of USC made a beautiful save, again showing you that you may go practically anywhere in the building to save the ball. Peter Ehrman puts it away for UCLA, so it's side out to the Bruins. They win the service. Ehrman only 5'11", but perhaps the biggest leaper on the team.
This is a play consistently used by UCLA. Let's take a look at it. Number 1, Slevko goes up for a fake, and then Ehrman comes up for the actual kill. Ball State University demonstrated this maneuver for us. Take a look at number 3, who will eventually hit the ball. As the serve comes over, a backcourt man will retrieve it and pass it up to the front. The striped shirt will set it. Number 11 fakes it, and number 3 hits it over. Let's take a look from a different angle. Backcourt man passes it up to the front. Striped shirt sets it. Number 11 will fake it, drawing the defense up, leaving number 3 a free area to hit.
UCLA lost their side out, and so Pat Powers of USC will serve with a score still USC 12, UCLA 7. Nice save by UCLA, and Steve Timmons, number 6 of USC, blocks the attempted kill by Saunders, giving the point to the Trojans and making it 13-7 in favor of USC. The Trojans now only 2 points away from a possible victory here in very important and pivotal game number 3.
UCLA having a very tough time getting through that height advantage on the USC blocking line.
That serve by Powers was too long, however, and the fault on the service gives it side out to UCLA. Mark Slevkov of the Bruins will be serving with the score still 13-7 in favor of Southern California. And referee Wink Davenport says that John Hedlund did not handle that ball cleanly. In that instance, Hedlund must touch the ball with both hands at the same time. He apparently did not, and so it's a point for UCLA. It's 13-8 USC. Pat Powers with another kill as Powers goes up to spike the ball and puts it away. Side out, back to USC. They get the service back.
USC's offense relies so heavily on Powers and his ability to hit deep from the backcourt as well as the front court. Here's Dvorak setting it high outside. Now Powers is going to go up almost 40 inches off the floor and kill the ball on the sideline. No one can stop that one.
Southern California lost their service, so Randy Stoklos will serve for UCLA with the score still 13-8 in favor of the Trojans. And the block by Karch Kirai as John Hedlund attempted to kill it. Karch Kirai of UCLA blocked it, making it 13-9 in favor of USC. Again, you can only score when you are serving. Another block, this time by Saunders of UCLA, and it's 13-10 in favor of USC. The Trojans having their lead evaporate here very quickly as UCLA is making a run back at them.
Stoklos here had quite a bad stomach flu last night, but he seems okay today.
And Capololo hits it well wide of the court outside of the red lines, and so it's 13-11 in favor of USC. UCLA coming back, and they're going to meet with their coach as USC calls the timeout. Let's listen to Coach Al Skates.
All right, you stay low on Capololo. I want a low, tight block. If you can't get there, don't worry about it. What I don't want is a net. He's going to hit deep wherever he hits. Deep digging here, Randy. Make sure your feet are stuck. It's easy dig. Yeah. They'll probably go to Hovland, right. Now, what are they going to come up with for Hovland here?
Either a 3 or...
They set up. They'll set. Where is he starting?
He's left front, but he's been coming around.
He's been coming for
Maybe
threes.
even a back two.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
Okay.
Come on.
All right, boys.
Yeah, one block in the press.
Coach Skates telling his team to play back to cover Kapalulu's deep hits and also to watch Hovland, who's beginning to hit down the middle of the net more than the outside.
That term coming for threes that Coach Skates said refers to the center area of the net. Areas are numbered on the net, and Hovland has been coming to the middle of the net or the number 3 area to kill the ball. And the block by Steve Golnack of UCLA makes it 13-12 in favor of USC as the Bruins have now pulled to within 1 point here in game number 3. Randy Stoklos still serving for UCLA. There's Hovland at the middle of the net again. Capololo hitting deep just as they were discussing. And Dave Saunders puts it away for UCLA to tie the game at 13-13. We'll be back in just a minute. UCLA lost their service, so Dusty Dvorak of USC will be serving with the score still tied at 13-13. Good blocking by both teams. Tim Hovland rejects the attempted kill by Peter Ehrman of UCLA. Hovland picks up the point for USC, and they take a 14-13 lead. 1 point away from victory here in game number 3. Remember, you must win by 2 or more points. Coach Ernie Hicks of USC looking on. Dusty Dvorak, number 1, their captain, was injured when these two teams met last year in the NCAA finals. A lot of USC people feel that if he would have been healthy, USC would have won that championship last year instead of UCLA. And a blocking fault has been called against Headland. Apparently he went up to attempt to block that kill but touched the net. You are allowed to reach over the net but not to touch it. Referee Wink Davenport making the call, and so instead of a game-winning point, it's side out to the UCLA Bruins. They get the service back. Gulnak serving. Powers with another big kill shot as he drilled that one straight down to the floor. It's side out back to USC.
And here's the play that's been working all afternoon for USC. There's a dig from the backcourt to set it up for Dusty. Dusty comes in and sets it way high to the outside for Pat Powers. And even with 2 defensemen up on the UCLA side, Powers has the height and the blasting ability to get it right by him.
He gives the serve back to USC. Tim Hovland will serve for the game. USC leading 14-13. And the block gives USC the game. Powers and Steve Timmons combining to reject that shot. USC wins it 15-13 and takes this most important and pivotal game number 3 to take a 2-1 lead. We'll be returning here for game 4, but now to Keith Jackson at the NCAA Track and Field Championships.
Through 3 events on this final day as our competition continues, University of Texas El Paso has moved to the lead in the team standings with 29 points. UCLA now with 28 points. USC continues third at 18 points. The UTEP Miners got a big boost from a surprise performance of Carlos Scott. He's a 6'3", 275-pound football player. Second place in the discus was worth 8 points for the Miners. He threw the discus 201 feet 9 inches. He has improved his discus performance this season alone by some 20 feet. So a big day for Carlos Scott of UTEP. The UCLA Bruins picked up 6 points on a 3rd place finish in the pole vault from Anthony Curran. Curran, 17 feet 7 3/4 inches for the 6 points. He's been fairly stable in his performances this year, taking 2nd in the Pac-10, and he finished 4th in this event a year ago. Hello again, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson, and we move now to an event that's going to mean a great deal to the University of Southern California Trojans if they are to stay in the team title hunt with UCLA and UTEP. The 4x100 sprint relay. Now, this sprint relay team at one time had in its ranks Billy Mullins, who is ranked among the very best in the world in all of the sprint distances and the very best at 400 meters. But Billy Mullins is not here, and the Trojans are bound to miss his maturity and experience at this level of competition. Let me bring you up to date on the latest information regarding the Billy Mullins matter. Many of you, I am sure, already know the University of Southern California declared Mullins ineligible for this championship on the basis of erroneous certification of grades transferred to USC from another school. Under NCAA eligibility rules, USC also had to forfeit the 1978 National Track and Field Championship that they had won, in which Mullins was a prime contributor. Now, we have asked both parties to make a public statement on the present circumstances of the matter. Both have refused to make a public statement. Now, Billy Mullins' attorney says that she does not want to make a statement at this time until she has more definition and more information before she can determine which steps will come next. So that pretty much brings you up to date on the matter of Mullins. But as for the USC Trojans sprint relay team, let's turn now to Marty LaQuarrie and talk about this team that right now still shows the best times among those entered in this very important event, but they have a young freshman in there.
Well, they still have 4 very good runners, but getting off a good stick pass under the heat of this type of competition is another matter entirely, especially when you throw a new man into the works. Getting off the perfect stick pass with both runners at full speed has got to be the epitome of teamwork in sports. And with a wind at a runner's back or a runner tying up, not knowing the personal whims of that new runner, they run the risk of losing the race, because I don't think it'll be settled by much more than 0.2 of a second.
University of Texas El Paso does not have a team entry in the 4x100 relay. Now let's set the lanes for you. Running in lane number 1 inside will be Texas A&M, and Steve Willis will run the takeoff leg for the Aggies. In lane number 2, Terrence Totley leads off for the Clemson Tigers. That's in lane 2. In lane number 3, a team to watch, James Butler, the leadoff man for Oklahoma State. USC will be in lane number 4 with Kevin Williams, the remarkable football receiver, leading off for the Trojans. In lane number 5, another group to watch, Florida State. Their leadoff man is Bobby Butler. In lane number 6 for the Auburn Tigers, it'll be Steve Struther leading off. Auburn in lane number 6. Lane number 7 will be empty. Northwestern Louisiana State having pulled out of the 400-meter relay. In lane number 8, Dokie Williams leads off for UCLA. He has posted the longest of the triple jump so far at 54.8½. Did it in his first try in the qualification, so he's taken the time off now to run the leadoff leg for the UCLA Bruins, and we'll have a look at Dokie and the triple jump fit a little bit later. You're looking at Kevin Williams of USC. Mike Sanford, a freshman, runs the second leg. On the turn, his brother James Stanford, and then it's another freshman, William Green, Bill Green, to bring the Trojans home. So let's see how 2 freshmen function on this revamped Trojan relay team. Everybody off well. Let's look for the first exchange. Kevin Williams for USC. In the turn, they're still all pretty even. Florida State would have the edge right now. The Seminole team getting out well. Oklahoma State running very well. So far, everybody's handled the baton pretty well. USC right now would be in the number 3 position. James Sanford running the turn. Look at Sanford turn it on, and he gives USC the lead. And here comes Bill Green. Bill Green is well out in front, coming up hard on Green. It is Florida State. Now here comes Oklahoma State's Ron Ingram. It is Ron Ingram battling Walter McCoy for second place. UCLA running on the outside, looked to get a 4th place. James Sanford, who turned in a blistering leg around the turn for USC. The Trojans were in about 3rd place when James got the baton from his brother Mike, and just how, when he handed it over to Bill Green, it was something to see as Green brought the Trojans home first. All right, let's take a second look now in isolation. The winning Trojan relay team.
Kevin Williams gets it out well. The only question on USC's superiority was on this second leg as Mike Sanford has to sub for Bones. He takes a good stick from Williams, keeps him in the race, and then he hands it off to his brother James, and then we'll see why James is rated right now one of the fastest sprinters in the world. He just opens the race up. He's USC's fastest man. They ran him on that 3rd leg because he runs the turn so well, and then it was all over as Bill Green got the stick. The race was over by then. The pressure is off USC. No one breathing down their neck. Green, a 400-meter man, did yield a few yards in the end of the race, but Sanford had opened it up on that 3rd leg.
Winning time for the Trojans, 39.16. Oklahoma State got a 2nd. Florida State took a 3rd, and UCLA took 4th. So your team standings through the top 3, still a battle. UCLA, 32 points. UTEP, 29 points. And USC now with 28 points. We'll be back with more of the NCAA champions after this message and a word from our local stations. For the 400-meter hurdles, the world and American record, 47.45. Edwin Moses, 1977. The NCAA meet record, 48.55. Quentin Wheeler, San Diego State, 1976. Recapping again the team standings, UCLA with Andre Phillips in this race, 32 points. UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso with Wilfred Mooley, a sophomore from Kenya, in this race, 29 points. USC, 28 points in 3rd place. They have no entry. Andre Phillips, the Pac-10 champion, a junior at UCLA, very quick, and I guess the considered favorite in this event, could really produce valuable points for the Bruins in the overall standings. In lane number 1, from South Carolina, a young man who won the Penn Relays, sophomore Tony Rambo. He'll be running with Wilfred Mooley in lane number 2. Then Tim Handlin in lane number 3 from St. John's. David Lee, Southern Illinois, lane number 4. Lane number 5 is Phillips. Lane number 6 is Chris Person from Maryland. Lane number 7, Paul Langford, Penn State. Nate Lundy of Indiana runs outside in lane number 8. UCLA coach Jim Bush, Marty, has characterized this UCLA team as a bunch of scrappers. Andre Phillips right now has got to be feeling a little pressure.
Well, they have to be scrappers because most of them are doing a lot of races over the period of 3 days, and that's a little bit hard when you want your concentration to be just on your own event. Phillips has to watch out for David Lee on his inside because he's just about as fast as Phillips, and he's probably a little bit fresher.
All right, let's look right now. Consider Chris Person of Maryland, who got off to a very good start. I would say Person right now would have the lead. The Maryland sophomore who finished 5th in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Tony Rombo is holding on. Mully of University of Texas, El Paso, of course, and Andre Phillips, the two key people that we really want to keep our eyes on. Right now, it is David Lee. David Lee running in lane number 4 is the leader. And running right along with him is Chris Person of Maryland. The UCLA man, Phillips, is well back. Phillips is struggling. It is Phillips dropping well off the pace, and David Lee of Southern Illinois comes across in first place. Lane number 2, Mully of the University of Texas, El Paso, gets a second place and 8 big points, and that's going to vault UTEP back into the lead in the overall team standing.
Well, the crowd is on its feet, and you can see some of the coaches in front of us looking at each other because UTEP did not expect to score as well as they did. Not only was UCLA knocked back quite a bit, but UTEP now has scored some valuable points. As I've mentioned at the beginning of the race, Andre Phillips has had to do some relay duty, and he was on his knees after that race.
Again, an isolated replay to determine the problems of Andre Phillips of UCLA, who comes away in 8th place, empty, no points, and almost a crushing blow, I guess, for the Bruins, Marty.
Right, this is just one of those events where if you're a little bit off, it just keeps the problem keeps compounding. He gets a little bit worse, a little more tired on each hurdle, so finally he's in big problems, big problems. The field is passing him by. He tries to press, but he just can't get it back together. Once you start seeing those guys out of the corner of your eye who you've been beating all year, and you know they've got 5 and 10 yards on you, in the back of your mind, know you're having a monumentally bad race, and it seems to me he eases off. He doesn't give it all the last couple of hurdles.
Just going to the well too many times.
That's right. Sometimes you just know it's not in you. He seems to not be pushing it here, even though a 6th place would be very helpful for UCLA. But I think he may have sustained some type of a cramp.
The foot weighs 100 pounds as he tries to pick one up and then the other. So it is David Lee of Southern Illinois first. It is Wilfred Mully of UTEP second. Big points there, and Tim Hanlon of St. John's third. And your team standings now. After the 400-meter hurdles, UTEP 37, UCLA 32, and USC 28. Again, keep in mind that UTEP is on top right now with 37 points. UCLA in second place, 32, and USC 28. 400 meters right now. World and American record, 43.86. Lee Evans, 1968 NCAA meet record for 2 turns, 45 seconds flat. Lee Evans, San Jose, 1968. Now, very quickly, let's set the lanes for you. Running in lane number 1, it'll be Ulysses Cohen, Ohio State Big Ten champion. Leslie Kerr, Texas A&M in lane 2. Bertlin Cameron of UTEP will be in lane 3. Deion Hogan, Kansas, lane 4. Walter McCoy, Florida State, lane 5. Hamill Grimes, Kentucky, lane 6. William Green, USC, lane 7. And Mike Ricks of Kansas will be in lane number 8. Bill Green, freshman out of Palo Alto, California, who still holds and probably will for some time unless we have some real drama. The high school record in this country, 45-5-1, the Pac-10 champion. So it's 2 freshmen who really hold the candles of drama as we get ready for the 400-meter dash.
And strategy will play an important part today because there's such a strong wind on the backstretch. A lot of the runners have been going out too fast for the first 200, and when they hit that final straightaway, they find out that they came up very short. Your body can run for about 300 yards without oxygen, so as they come off the turn, they're running on guts.
It may be very important to watch Deion Hogan of Kansas. Right now, the Hamill Grimes of Kentucky jumps out to the lead with Bertlin Cameron of University of Texas, El Paso right there with him. Hogan has been a very strong performer under the windy conditions. William Green now. Bill Green beginning to turn it on for Southern California. He's running in the number 3 position as they turn it down. Man in the blue, Hamill Grimes of Kentucky. Here comes Green, and here comes Cameron, University of Texas, El Paso. Walter McCoy in second place. It is Cameron trying to hold on. He does. Green gets second place. So the two prime contending teams, their representatives run 1-2. The University of Texas, El Paso getting 10 points. University of Southern California will get 8 points out of it, and that'll drop the children's point total up to 36. University of Texas, El Paso will jump all the way to 47 points. So that was a big finish by Cameron for UTEP. That's Steve Hanna, who has taken the lead in the triple jump. The UTEP triple jumper, a spectator during that 400-meter run, and he's pretty excited about that big upset and big victory by Burt Cameron. Cameron is a 21-year-old freshman out of Jamaica. He won the Western Athletic Conference Championship, and he is a strong, big guy. He stands 6'1", 175 pounds, and it's kind of unusual to see those size people, Marty, competing in this event.
I kind of favor the shorter guys like Walter McCoy out there that are muscular when they hit such a strong wind in the home stretch. But Cameron ran a good race. He didn't go out too fast the first 200 meters. He saved a little bit for the last straightaway. He was up there the entire race in the middle of the field, but with 100 meters to go, he managed to pull even, and then with 50, he took the race. He is not really that muscular compared to some of the other guys, but he held up very well in this wind.
And you should know that the temperature right now is around 92, 93 degrees. Burt Cameron, a 45.23 winning time. Bill Green second, and Walter McCoy finishing in third place. And the team standings, as we noted now, with the University of Texas, El Paso out to a considerable lead. Back in a moment. The UTEP Miners, a big lead now over USC and UCLA. The Bruins' cause hurt particularly by the failure of Phillips at 400-meter hurdles. Right now, our colleague Arthur Ashe talks with the Bruin coach Jim Bush.
Coach Bush, UCLA is now 15 points behind, and Coach Wolf at SC thought you had it in the bag.
Well, I thought we had a good shot at winning it, Arthur, until my intermediate hurdler I think he ran out of gas. We just overdid it. The heat got to him, and I haven't had a chance to find out what happened, but our mile relay team is now shot, and we don't have a chance of probably even being in the top two now.
Well, that's bad luck.
Well, when you get in a meet like this, you have to be extremely lucky, and our young men have done a fantastic job. I'm proud of them. I don't care where they finish. Every Bruin should be proud of them, but we just didn't have enough gas, I'm afraid.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Keith.
All right, Arthur, you're looking now at Steve Hanna, UTEP, another young man contributing to this point surge by the Miners. He is a 22-year-old sophomore out of Nassau, Bahamas, ready for his final effort in the triple jump. In his fourth jump, wind-aided, 55 feet, 3/4 of an inch, the only jumper so far to go beyond 55 feet. He intended to concentrate on the long jump this season, but wound up instead in the triple jump, and he has the lead. Now the final effort, trying for first place and 10 points. If he can improve his 55 3/4, he'd be hard to handle. He's got a good one. Real good one, Marty.
It's a good one, and that switch from the long jump is not really that easy to make, because the long jump is speed and explosion off the board. But here in the triple jump, you need technique, you need balance, you need grace, and those things are a lot different. Many long jumpers will never triple jump well, and vice versa.
Dokie Williams of UCLA, in his very first jump of the day, went 54 feet 8 inches. He then passed his second and third efforts to go run in the 400 relay, but 54.8 certainly kept him up around the top for a long time, and now he's trying to improve on that. This is his final effort. Dokie Williams, UCLA, in the triple jump. No, that's not as good as his very first jump of the day. That's somewhere in the 52 range there. So Dokie Williams settles for 54 feet 8 inches, and that should be good for third place behind Sonia Owolabi of Kansas, who's second. But this man, 55 feet 1 inch, Steve Hanna, wins it for UTEP and gets the big 10 points, and now the Miners pretty well have this team thing in hand. We've got a lot left here in Austin. We'll see whether or not James Sanford can come back to win the 200. Don Page we'll see in the 800, and many other top individuals. Right now, we're looking back to volleyball. Steve Zabriskie to document the battle between the Bruins and the Trojans right after this message.
Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. In the heart of the beautiful Midwest, the tulips are in bloom as we near summertime here in Indiana. In Ball State, the scene of the NCAA Volleyball Championships here in 1980. As you can see, volleyball also a popular sport in the Midwest, not only on the West Coast. Outside, it's fun, but inside, it's all business. The crowd is on its feet. We are in Game 4 of this best-of-5 series, and USC has taken a big 13-5 lead, leading 2-1 already. They can win the NCAA championship by winning this game. UCLA coach Al Skates, somewhat concerned, as you might expect, and USC is fired up. Cliff Capololu is serving for the USC Trojans. This is Steve Zabriskie along with Diana Nyad as we are nearing the end of Game 4 and possibly a championship for USC. Beautiful save by the Trojans. And Hovland puts it away for USC. They are now 1 point away from the national title. They lead 14-5 here in Game 4. Their coach, Ernie Hicks, looking on.
UCLA in absolute desperation in this fourth game. Their only hope is to bring their offense back in the middle of the court. They can't possibly get by USC's strong blocking defense on the outside.
And Capololu's serve is outside the red lines. The service fault gives the side out back to UCLA. And so the Bruins in white will have a chance to come back. They are trailing 14-5 here in game number 4. Mark Slevkov serving. And a fault has been called against Dusty Dvorak of USC, who apparently touched the net in handling that ball. And so it's a point for UCLA, making it 14-6 in favor of the USC Trojans. Slevkov will continue to serve. UCLA hanging on because a victory in this game would give USC the championship. USC the only team to beat UCLA in the last 2 years. Beautiful save. And the kill by Steve Golmack of UCLA. 14-7 now as the Bruins are trying to come back.
There's that play down the center, Steve, that UCLA needs.
USC won the first game, UCLA the second game, and USC the very important third game, 15-13. This is game 4. And Golmack puts it away again for the Bruins of UCLA to make it 14-8 as UCLA is making a desperate run at Southern California. Slevkov standing well back of the back line. You may stand as far back as you want. Pat Powers puts it away for USC. Side out, back to the Trojans. They win the serve back and are still only 1 point away from victory. Tim Hovland will be serving.
That kill by Pat Powers, by the way, was his 23rd for the match. Incredible.
And just as Hovland was serving for the match, he served it right into the net. And so the service fault gives it back to UCLA on the side out. USC coach Ernie Hicks looking on. Randy Stocklow serving for UCLA. And apparently Andrew Smith of UCLA did not handle that ball cleanly. Remember, you can only contact the ball with the lower part of your arm from the elbow down, and you must hit it with both hands at the same time. Apparently, that was not the case, and so Hedlund is serving for the game. And Steve Timmons blocks it for USC. The Trojans have won the NCAA Volleyball Championship for 1980. Only the second time in the history of the event for the USC Trojans to become the national champions. They did it in 1977. They've done it again here in 1980. Ernie Hicks and his team celebrating their victory over defending national champion and 7-time champion UCLA.
What an upset, Steve. There are probably 2 reasons USC took it this year. One defensive, one offensive. First, on the defense, USC always had 2 strong high blockers up, and UCLA could never get past them at the outside of the net. Second reason was offensive, and there he is, number 9, Pat Powers, 23 kills for the match.
Incidentally, the other 2 teams in the 4-team tournament were Ohio State and Rutgers Newark. Ohio State defeated Rutgers Newark for 3rd place. But USC is the national champion for 1980. That's the story. Now let's return to Keith Jackson for more of the NCAA Track and Field Championships.
At Texas Memorial Stadium, the temperature is still beyond 90 degrees. The wind gusting, the team standings are reflected there. Florida State's moved up to a solid 4th now with 28 points, so the Seminoles are gaining steadily. We've got some outstanding action coming for you, including Don Page of Villanova in the 800 meters. There's Don. We'll get to him after this message and a word from our local station.
Jim McKay reporting live from the Baltusrol Golf Club in Springfield, New Jersey. From here this afternoon, we're going to begin our live coverage. Full 18 holes, 4 hours.
In the 800-meter run, the world record 142.4, Sebastian Coe, Great Britain, 1979. The NCAA meet record 145.16, Mark Enyart, Utah State, 1977. Very quickly the field. David Mack of Oregon, Jack McIntosh, Western Michigan, Palmer Simmons, Florida State, William Martin, Iona, James Mays, Texas Tech, David Career, Iowa State, Peter Lamachon of UTEP, and Don Page of Villanova. Lemachon of UTEP, a junior, a Kenyan, 78 NCAA champion, running alongside, at the start at least, of Don Page of Villanova. Remember him from a year ago at Champaign, Illinois. He doubled in the 800 and the 1500. He was also a double winner in the 800 and 1500 this year in the IC4A. But because of the weather circumstances, Don Page is not doubling, and I don't think anybody in the world outside of Jumbo, Jim Elliott, and his mom and dad know him better than Marty LaQuarrie. So what can we expect at 800 meters from Don Page?
Well, Don wants a fast one. He had a great position. He can do exactly what he wants as they cut for the pole. I think he's going to try and go towards the back of the pack. He feels that the pace is going to be fast enough for him today that they'll take him through the 600 very quickly. So I look for him to tuck in around this next turn and up the next straight where the wind is fairly stiff. I think he'll try and make his move a bit earlier than usual, which would be with about 300 yards to go. We'll have the wind at his back, and he should really go. He knows Lamachon's dangerous on the last 100 yards, and he's right now in great position, but Lamachon, with the orange shorts of UTEP, is in very good position also to strike as they come out of this turn and down the backstretch.
We want to remember, too, David Mack of Oregon, a freshman who has shown us all along a big, big kick, and he actually reminds you of James Robinson, who used to run at the University of California, Berkeley, who would come blazing from the back of the pack. So we'll see whether or not Mack becomes a factor.
Mack
800 meters.
In last place as he was in his 2 trials, and here he's starting his big move. He may get up on Page's shoulder, and that will signal the fireworks. Page moving now with 200 to go. It looks like Page's race. I think it's going to be a run for second now.
All right, he's trying to run down Career right now. Peter Lemachon has got to come out of the pack, and he has gone to the outside. David Mack is coming with him. That's Lemachon and Mack back there as Don Page has gone to the lead. And the tape is stretched. It is Don Page's race. Let's see where Lemachon finishes. I don't think he got better than 5th. I would say the young man from the University of Texas, El Paso, took a 5th. So that will be worth 2 more points for the Miners, but a most convincing win for Don Page of Villanova. Very classy fellow.
And when you talk about Don Page and his great kick, you have to remember that his great kick is in the last 50 to 100 yards. Some guys have a great kick. It may be from 300 yards out or 600 yards out, but Don is probably second to no one in the last 50 yards of a race. And here, the race for second place is just unbelievable, as it couldn't have been orchestrated better if they were trying to shoot a commercial. They're all giving it everything they've got, and in the last 20 yards, they just all get together.
Billy Martin of Iona gets second. David Career, Iowa State, third, followed by James Mays of Texas Tech, Peter Lamachon, 5th, and David Mack of Oregon got the number 6 position, and the UTEP lead in the team standings now has grown to 19 points. Well, we're standing by for the shootout at 200 meters, featuring James Sanford, coming up in a moment.
Right guard knows that in equally active situations, men and women don't perspire equally. Men perspire more. That's why men count on Right Guard. Right Guard is so strong, so effective, it helps stop a man's perspiration odor all day long. Yes, men and women don't perspire equally. And that's why men count on Right Guard. Strong, effective Right Guard. Because men perspire more.
When it comes to fighting rust, there are 2 types of people.
I want to do it fast. I want to make
Meter dash, featuring James Sanford of Southern California. Despite his 3rd place finish in the 100 meters here in Austin, Texas, still considered by most the ranking sprinter in the world. Earlier, Arthur Ashe talked with him.
You have to run 9 races in 3 days. How does that affect you? 9 races.
Well, not at all. You know, I think it's my background because it's something that I was doing all through high school and, you know, even at SC, I was running 4 races. So, and plus, you know, then I was a quarter mile and I have that quarter mile, you know, background, and that I think helps. I think that helps me most to get through, you know, these 9 days, and it doesn't bother me at all.
Houston and Texas A&M. Now we move to the 200-meter dash. The world record, 1972. Pietro Mene of Italy, 1979. The NCAA meet record, 20.16. Clancy Edwards, Southern California, 1978. Setting the lanes now for the 200 meters. Rudy Lavarity out of the Bahamas. North Texas State, a junior. In lane number 2 will be Butch Woolfolk, the tailback from Michigan, the Big Ten champion. In lane number 3 from Oklahoma State, you have James Butler, the Big 8 champion. And in lane number 4, you have Michael Robertson, the Metro champion, 100 and 200 from Florida State. Lane number 5, James Sanford of USC, who was 3rd in the 100 here. Lane number 6, the defending champion, Greg Foster, who's already won the 110-meter high hurdles from UCLA. Lane number 7, Desai Williams. He is from Clemson, the ACC champion at 100 and 200 meters, and Mel Latney of Georgia, who was 2nd in the SEC. All right, runners being called to their marks right now. Could be a big moment, big move for USC if Sanford can hold it together. Of course, Greg Foster, as we noted, is the defending champion.
I would look for the race to be in the center of the track, but Mel Latney out there in lane 8 is very good, and he's got less of a turn to run. He could sneak by them.
All right, here they go. It is Sanford taking the early lead. It is Michael Robertson now pulling up, coming off the turn. It is Robertson, Florida State, with 24 points. This could be a big win for the Seminoles. And Sanford is well back. He pulls. Sanford has pulled. James Sanford finishing, I don't even think he got a point as he just kept fading as Robertson came down off the turn and got in front. It looked like Greg Foster might have been able to get a 3rd place out of it, possibly even a 2nd. But James Sanford down in a heap as he pulled nearing the finish line, and Michael Robertson gets 10 for Florida State.
A lot of emotion down there on the track as Robertson mobbed by his teammates, but also James Sanford down on the track pulled that muscle towards the end of the race. You've got to remember, when they're running the 200, they're reaching speeds that are faster than any other race. They're running faster than they do in the 100 meters because they've got so much momentum, and when that hamstring goes, it can really be serious. I haven't seen too many guys hit the track like Sanford does, and maybe he may even have some trouble coming back from this one. It could be serious.
All right, let's take an isolated look now at James Sanford in a replay here and try to pick up exactly where it was that he got hurt. He looked so strong coming off the start.
Well, Sanford did not get a good start. You see Roberson's really got a lead on him, and Foster was with him. This is where Sanford usually makes his move, and he's got to make a very big one, an impressive one, to cut down Roberson. So he may have started pushing. He may have overstrided a bit. When you're moving that fast and you start overstriding, things can happen. He's tired. He's had a lot of races. And here you'll see he really pops up in the air. That thing snapped. That's not a cramp as we've seen some of the fellas get. That is a pulled hamstring, and he's having trouble getting himself under control. Mel Latney sensing the problem, grabbing him because that thing is really painful at this point. He can't put any pressure on it. He's got a lot of problems at this point.
So down on the track, the kind of thing that just strikes terror into the heart of an athlete and a coach. Now a line replay, and you can see that Michael Robertson of Florida State, he just simply came blowing out of there. He had the lead almost instantly, and now here you can see that Sanford looked like he was ready to go for his acceleration, but there was nothing there at that point, and Michael was just flat gone. And Butler of Oklahoma State going along with him right there, pulling into 2nd place, and then Greg Foster coming up on the outside to take a 3rd place, with Des Williams of Clemson finishing in the number 4 spot. 19.96, but too much wind, just a little over the allowable.
Keith, Roberson's big upset is really going to help Florida State move up to 3rd place, which is the highest they've ever been in this meet.
Next, we'll see the 5,000 meters. We'll find out whether or not Suleiman Naimboui can double in the 5 after having won the 10,000. The crack of the gun indicates the sound for the start of the 5,000 meters. The world record, 13:08.4. Henry Rono, Kenya, 1978. The NCAA meet, Sidney Murray of Villanova, 1979, at 13:20.63. Murray is not in it. I should tell you this, insofar as the team standings are concerned now, UTEP with its 59 points, 4 runners are in the 5,000 from the University of Texas, El Paso, 3 Kenyans and 1 Tanzanian. So obviously they almost have to score some points here, particularly with people like Solomon Nyambui in it, Wilson Keegan, James Rotich, and Gabriel Kamau. The other group of athletes in the field, I'll run them down very quickly for you, are Solomon Shibor of Fairleigh Dickinson, Larry Kazort of Western Kentucky, Geir Caverno, a Norwegian from Wyoming, Jim Spivey of Indiana, Bill McChesney of Oregon, Doug Padilla of Brigham Young, Steve Ortiz of UCLA, and Dean Childs of Villanova. But Marty LaQuarrie, it's a very good chance this race could belong solely to the Kenyan.
Well, it certainly should, Nyambui in particular, because he is one of the top 4 or 5 5,000-meter men in the world. He's got quite an age difference on most of the runners in this field. He is an African. Dar es Salaam, I understand, is a very, very humid place. And one of the big factors in this race, as in the 10,000, is that the heat is going to be a problem. You've got to go out conservatively because that heat in a distance race can come upon you unsuspectingly. So they've gone out in 67 seconds for the first lap, which is not very fast, but it's far from conservative, so we could see some people folding in the latter stages of the race. Nyambui now the leader, Ortiz on his shoulder from UCLA.
Okay, Marty, now let's join Arthur Ashe down on the infield with some happy people from the University of Texas, El Paso, the people who turned it around for the minors. Steve Hanna, who won the triple jump, while Bert Cameron was winning 400 meters. They're there with Coach Ted Banks. Here's Arthur.
Steve, how do you feel? Big win in the triple jump. Were you surprised?
Well, not necessarily. You know, I always knew that I could triple jump. You know, I just had to sort of have a place and a time to do it. And this was the place, and this was the big meet, and I did it. You know.
That's for sure. Let's talk to your roommate here. Bert, 400 meters. How's it feel?
Well, I feel very good. So good because from I started going to college, I said I would like to be national champion, and this is my dream. It's come through. I feel so good.
Well, congratulations. Excuse me. Coach, that's 3 in a row. How do you feel?
Oh, it's great to win. You know, the Bruins gave us a lot of trouble today, and we finally turned the momentum and got things going, and it's great.
When do you think you turned it around?
I think that it started when we took second in the disc with Carlos Scott, and then UCLA kept putting it to us in the triple jump. And then when Hanna went ahead to earn first in that, and then when Mooley took second in the intermediates and UCLA didn't place, then that was it.
Now that you got it wrapped up, what was your biggest surprise looking back on it all?
Well, you know, it was a real disappointment last night when Majoki dropped out of the 10,000. That really hurt us, and we had our back against the wall today. But as I say, those 3 people turned the tide, and that was the difference.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Arthur.
Now back to Keith and Marty in the booth.
Well, it's certainly been quite a season for Coach Ted Banks and his University of Texas El Paso Miners. 1979 late, they won the NCAA cross country, won the NCAA indoors in 1980, and now the outdoors in 80. And, of course, they were the champions in 1979 and second in 1978. So he is building himself quite a history down there at the University of Texas, El Paso. The 5,000 meter continues with Solomon Nyambui of UTEP and Wilson Keegan of UTEP running 1-2 at 5,000 meters. We'll have more of them in just a moment, but right now let's have a look at some other winners in these championships. The javelin was won by Kurt Ransford of San Jose State. He's a big guy, 6'3", 230. This is his final throw in the competition. When he came to this point, he already had 266.1 to lead, but he nailed this one, throwing the spear into that Texas wind, 269 feet, 3 inches. And so Kurt Ransford takes a gold medal back to San Jose State. In the discus, Garen Swenson, a sophomore at Brigham Young University from Sweden, had a toss of 2:02.6. Prior to this year, Swenson's best mark had been 183 feet 5 inches. But here at Memorial Stadium, he wins the discus at 2:02.6. In the pole vault, Randy Hall of Texas A&M, a junior, second in this competition last year. The NCAA indoor champion, 18 feet, 2 1/4 inches. Also a personal best, 1 3/4 inches higher than Randy had ever vaulted before. There was some excitement at the high jump pit, too, as Jeff Woodard, an Alabama junior from New Albany, Indiana, cleared 7 1/4, equaling Dwight Stone's American record. He cleared on his first try at that height. Jeff Woodard was third last year. Stands only 6 feet, but he really flew in 1980 in the high jump. In the shot put, an accident delayed the competition today. James Smith, a veteran meet official, was struck in the head by a warm-up put from Tim Scott of Texas A&M. Smith was severely injured, but doctors say in time, after cosmetic surgery, he will recover. The event was won by Big Michael Carter, SMU freshman football player, 66 feet, 11 1/4 inches. Carter, you may know, holds the high school record with a 12-pound shot at 81 feet, 3 1/2, and now he's got a gold medal from the big boys. In the steeplechase at 3,000 meters, Randy Jackson, a Wisconsin senior, 8:22.81, the fastest U.S. time this year, and by 8 seconds, his best mark ever, run in 89-degree temperatures. Running second, Ken Martin of Oregon in the steeplechase. 1,500 meters, Sidney Murray of Villanova, the South African, won easily, 3:38.64 in the 4x400 relay. Watch the man in orange. Watch him come from 6th place off the turn now, and watch this desperate dive at the tape. His name is Anthony Blair. Broken field running as Tennessee wins it. Terrific effort by Anthony Blair for Tennessee. 3:03.94 with Kansas second and Baylor third in the 4x400 meter relay. Now going back to the 200 meters, James Sanford of USC, here in the center of the picture, came down with a cramp. He did not pull a hamstring as we had first thought. Michael Robertson of Florida State won the race, but James Sanford, having run 9 races in 3 days in 90-plus degree heat, just simply ran out of luck and physical stamina in this one. When he reached back and grabbed it and jumped up in the air and grabbed that right leg, we thought for sure the hamstring was gone. But turns out it was a severe cramp, and he will be able to resume his training and probably his competition for the rest of the season. The 5,000 meters continues, and the University of Texas El Paso had been running 1-2 pretty much all the way, but now you have a young man from the University of Oregon, Bill McChesney, who has moved up into the number 2 position. We're getting close to the finish of the 5,000 meters. We'll be back for the finish in just a moment.
Rain is a real test of a car wax shine, so I use Simonize. Shines like the sun. Sun is a real test of a car wax, so I use Simonize. Shines like the sun. Speeds up the rain, stands up to the sun. Rain, sun, rain, sun.
Shines like the sun. Speeds up, stands up, stays bright. It's the Rain or Shine Shine by Simonize.
What a shine. And it's all mine. Ours.
My name is Mike Withers. I'm a State Farm insurance agent in Rockland, California, speaking for thousands of State Farm agents all over the country. We have various reasons why we think State Farm has maintained a reputation and people keep coming back to us year after year. My personal belief is that it's the service. We deliver when the policyholder has a problem. We sell on that basis and we deliver on that basis, and people keep coming back.
State Farm is there.
The 1984.
This runner can do both mentally and physically. For some reason, even though he has the best kick in both fields, he wanted to lead the whole way. He's led almost every step of the way, both the 10,000 over 6 miles and the 5,000 over 3 miles. To do that, knowing there are some good runners on your shoulder the whole way, takes a lot of calm, a lot of maturity, but he certainly showed why he is probably one of the favorites for a gold medal this summer at the Olympics.
Well, I'm always startled, really, startled to see how fresh. Now, he's walking around with a glass of water or something in his hand there, drinking, still walking, cooling down. All over the place, people are falling down from frustration and exhaustion, and this man looks like he could just keep on going.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, he's from Tanzania. Dar es Salaam on the coast is supposed to be very humid. This is probably just like home to him.
And in the final results of the 5,000-meter, Wilson Keegan, who finished fourth for UTEP, has been disqualified for interference, so that cost the Miners 4 points in their overall team standings, but they won it rather handily with 69 points. Our thanks to Jim Dunaway for research, Keith Jackson, Marty